Let me give you a quick reminder of the top stories we're tracking for you at this hour. South Africa's COVID-19 infections are now nearing the 300,000 mark, yet another grim milestone. I mean, almost felt like it was just last week where we were marking the 200,000 mark. But in the past 24 hours, we saw 11,554 new infections. And I guess those numbers should give you a sense of why we are galloping insofar as these tallies are concerned. Plus, Health Minister Newzroom Afrika has defended government's U-turn on the sale of alcohol, saying this, of course, is to ease pressure on healthcare facilities, an argument that had been made from the very beginning of the lockdown period. We're keeping an eye on these stories and plenty others for you this Tuesday morning. Plus, the 14th of July, for many of you who, I guess, pay attention to detail in the news cycle, will remember that this is the D-Day for creditors at SAA to finally vote on that business rescue plan. And of course, it's a big day for the airline and many others who are implicated, including the thousands of workers represented by various unions at the beleaguered national carrier. Now, of course, there are several implications if this does go through. But let me give you a sense of what it's needed for it to get through. First of all, there needs to be a 75% sort of backing of the business plan that's likely to be tabled today. There have been several delays to get here, 2 postponements, if I'm correct. And now we're understanding that the Department of Public Enterprises is also calling on unions to vote in favor of the airline. If it does go through, it means those severance packages that some unions ended up accepting will be given the green light, and of course about 1,000 or so jobs will be saved at the very least. So we're keeping a very close eye on this. Our business reporter Wandi Santenge on top of those developments, and of course we'll bring you some of those details as they emerge. The drama, the saga, I guess, scandal surrounding the International Pentecostal Holiness Church continues. Yesterday, we tried to speak to the leader of the Jerusalem branch, that's Michael Sandlana. Today, we're going to give you more perspective of this developing story and speak to Tsepiso, who is one of Mudise's son, and you know that Mudise is the head of this church. If you haven't been keeping a close eye on the situation, there was a hostage sort of situation over the weekend. We understand several people were killed, upwards of 40 people were arrested, and this has a dispute over leadership at the center of the saga. And so we're speaking to the various stakeholders to get a sense of how we got here, and more importantly, how we can move forward, considering, of course, the hundreds, if not thousands, of congregants who rely on this church for refuge, if not at least some kind of spiritual nourishment. Mbali Tatania, our reporter on that story. In the Eastern Cape, of course, we've been inundated with reports of what appears to be a catastrophe, really, in the health system there. We're expecting the Premier, Oscar Mabuyane, to give us an update on how the province is dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic in that area. Various scandals there too, most prominent probably centered on those scooters that were once punted by Health Minister Dr. Newzroom Afrika. It appeared then later that we were told by government that the scooters were never actually meant to transport ambulances, even though that appeared to be the most salient feature that was punted at the beginning of the conversation around scooters. Now we're told, of course, that they were just meant to sort of battle tough terrain in the Eastern Cape and transport much needed medicine. However, we've also spoken on this very show to the company that produces those scooters, and they have told us that they received an order but haven't necessarily received any money from government in and of itself. How much money, you ask? Well, 10 million rands was the figure punted at some stage. So our politics editor Spungala will keep a close eye on whether or not the Premier will make mention of the saga and many other important issues, including, of course, the capacity of Eastern Cape hospitals to deal with that pandemic. Let's take you to the northwest now, where we're hearing of a block of flats in Brits where there's a complete and utter disregard of lockdown regulations, from the wearing of face masks to, I guess, trying to social distance in ways that are reasonably expected. Our reporter in that province, Kanyane, will be giving us a sense of what some of the issues are and what the owners of this property have to say about what residents are doing. We'll bring you that human interest story throughout the course of the day. And in Gauteng, of course, George Mukhari Hospital has also been at the center of much controversy over the past few days, years, possibly two. And the most recent scandal to come out of that hospital, you remember the incident of the 6-year-old who was allegedly raped whilst she was in isolation at that institution. Health Minister Newzroom Afrika and Gauteng Health MEC Dr. Bandile Masuku, we understand, are going to be paying that hospital a visit for a general oversight inspection. But I do imagine, of course, that amongst some of the questions posed, at the very least by our journalists, will be, of course, for them to give us a response to that ordeal. Our reporter Sipa Kema will be on that story.